safeguarding US personnel in Iran. President Donald Trump has raised the possibility of a friendly takeover of Cuba, though he did not elaborate on the specifics of how such a move would unfold. His comments come after a deadly confrontation off the coast of Cuba, where Cuban officials reported that US citizens aboard a Florida-registered speedboat fired on Cuban border troops. The Cuban Ministry of Interior confirmed that 4 people were killed and at least 6 others were injured or detained, including one American citizen who was killed and another injured. However, Trump commented that Cuba is in deep trouble, with the country struggling financially and seeking US assistance. He further emphasized that Cuba has no money, oil, or food and is in desperate need of help. The US is working to independently verify details of the deadly boat shootout, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio handling high-level talks with Cuban officials. We're now being rejoined by Major General Sadaka G. Thank you for rejoining us here. As we just heard, now Trump is saying about Cuba and saying he now wants to help them. How much do you actually believe in this statement after many weeks of Cuban people really struggling? People haven't been able to go to school or work because of the lack of resources they now have.
After the oil supply chain has been cut off from Venezuela and Mexico, Cuba is virtually in darkness. Hospitals are not running, schools are not opening, students are not going to the school. There is no food fodder, water supply is not taking place. People are suffering from different kinds of ailments. The garbage is not being cleaned from the streets. So besides that, there are some issues which are not catching the headlines of international media, that reportedly there is a significant footprint which is rising in Cuba of the Hezbollah and Hamas. There is also IRGC which is increasing. There is also reportedly, out of 4,150 odd islands, Cuba has got 4,000 plus islands, a good number of islands have got eavesdropping mechanism planted by China. All the activities or major activities of USA are under surveillance, effective surveillance, and it is a matter of concern. So the Pentagon would have taken it seriously, I'm sure. And I'm sure after the Tomahawk missiles were released or sanctioned for application or being used to be deployed and used during the Ukraine war last year, sometime in the month of March, Russia had gone in to get an agreement signed with Cuba called a Defense Peace Agreement. One of the central clauses of Defense Peace Agreement was to allow Russia to deploy offensive weapon systems. Oceanic is such a missile. It moves at a hypersonic speed between 10 to 12 Mach. It has got the capability to carry nuclear as also conventional warheads. Also, the reported deployment or plans to deploy very state-of-the-art modern platforms such as you call it as Samarth, you also call it as Avarant, you call it as Poseidon, and also Berovistinic. These are different names with different capability. Whether they have been deployed or not, I don't know. But soon after that, towards the end of March, sometime in April, some of the naval vessels of Russian Navy was spotted in Cuban waters. They definitely would have taken as a concern, very serious concern in the backwater of USA. It was something akin to or almost parallel to the Cuban missile crisis of 1962. Unfortunately, this has not caught the attention of the primary and the mainstream media for deliberate debate and discussions. But this was one of the unreported trigger point for formulating a national security strategy 2025 with a clean departure from the pattern of orientation that they have been following for past decade plus. And therefore, the Venezuela, and therefore, Iran, and therefore, indirect choking of China by multiple means and method without any overt signature of being aggressive. So to sum it up, whatever steps are being taken by America, they have a cause. They have at once upon a time they had the Platt Agreement, which actually fizzled out in 1934. As per that, USA retained the authority to intervene into Cuba whenever they deemed it necessary. But thereafter, it was taken off from that Platt Agreement.
That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.